Monaco Pizza presents SCP. The Steve Dangle Podcast with your hosts, Steve Dangle and Adam Wilde.
You know, if I was going to give my crown to somebody, it would be John Chayka.
Wow.
And it would be because he acquired Carl Söderberg.
Yes.
He wins the crown today because he gets Carl Söderberg not at 4.275 or 4.75, which is his cap hit. He gets him at $4 million, but 4.75 is his cap hit, so he saves his owner $750,000. John Chayka, everybody. John
Chayka. Jesse?
My crown goes to Steve Dangle. Are we allowed to give crowns to people on the show?
Sure. By the way, I should mention that, the Steve Dangle Podcast has signed up with Crown Royal. We're homies. We're buddies.
Pals. Even.
Pals.
Some would even say it's a partnership.
Yes.
Somewhat.
They would.
Anyway.
Most would
Some
say that,
would.
I think.
Some would.
Some.
Not most.
So what I would say
Some.
to that is that, yes, you can. You can give your
Ooh.
crown out. Now, when the Leafs come back, I have to talk about Leafs. But since the Leafs are not playing, who's your crown going to?
My crown goes to Steve Dangle Glynn
Yes.
for making his way to Vancouver, to Toronto, and back again in the span of 3 days,
Whoa.
Yes.
and doing all of this on little sleep,
Yeah.
changing time zones, jet setting around the world like the globetrotter he
I
is.
slept okay.
Did you?
Yeah.
Some people say sleeping is hard when you're traveling different time zones.
Jesse, if Steve was a minor league player,
This is good. I know where it's going.
how would he have made that journey?
He would have had to walk. He would have had to walk there
Probably
because
walk. I mean, because the trains are broken down.
there's just no way. There's no way to get from one location to the other.
How would he do it?
If you're a minor league player, you gotta
real fast.
you gotta take a bus, you gotta take a train, you gotta take a car, but you can't fly
That's right.
because
That's
those
right.
planes don't exist.
Steve, your crown.
My crown goes to the city of Vancouver.
Oh.
The city of Vancouver for protecting the sanctity of their city by not allowing Uber or Lyft.
Oh, boy. Why are they doing
Because no, well, you know why? Because they have a service where you can you'll pull up a little map on your phone
What?
and you'll see a car on a street corner, a little smart car. You can
Okay.
reserve that smart car. You get in it and drive to where you go,
Yeah.
and then you just leave it there, and then someone else picks it up.
Actually,
Actually,
they
that-
have like
yes.
Yeah, we have
because we
those.
have that as the
Cardigo.
equivalent of bikes.
yeah,
Cardigo,
yes.
right?
Oh yeah.
Something like that. So
But
they
that's
have
more
that.
like car rentals.
So I just want to give
right?
them the crown for having that, but not Uber because that would be silly. That would be preposterous. Instead, let's just pick up and leave cars wherever.
Has the government said why?
I don't know. You know what was funny to me? Listen, everyone I met in Vancouver was great, but it was a bit of a Twitter thing. So when I got there, I was on the train,
Yeah.
and I was just like, "Oh, there's no Uber," so like, I got mugged and someone pooped in my lunch
That's
and
funny.
just and I was making fun of the people who were complaining,
Yeah.
and then I tried to get anywhere. I was like, "No, this sucks. This is actually bad."
You forget what life was like before Uber.
Yes, for sure. No, but what I found was funny about it is if you go to someone in Toronto and you go, "Hey man, getting around your city sucks," what do we all say?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you're right.
For sure.
It does suck.
Fucking blows. People in Vancouver were like, "Yeah, well, go fuck yourself and never come back."
Oh, wow.
At least on Twitter.
Ah.
It was just, the foolish non-locals trying to find out how to get around her.
I can't believe a station or a city that has an all-traffic radio station.
Do they?
Yes.
What?
7:30, AM 7:30.
All traffic
Has
all
an
the time.
all-traffic radio station. A city that has an all-traffic radio station would dare have the gall to come at you and say, "Yeah, no, the traffic's not bad here."
Ridiculous.
That's ridiculous.
Listen, I had a great time. I love Vancouver.
Oh my God,
All the people I
Vancouver's
met were
amazing.
wonderful. But like, listen, if it's difficult to get around your city, like, just say it.
Can I extend my crown?
Yes,
I have to further my crown to Steve.
because
forgot.
I actually managed to get around.
No, I forgot why I originally wanted to award you my crown.
Oh, yeah.
There's two parts. One for you navigating the airwaves. 2. You scored your first goal. No, your
Hey.
second goal, but it looked nicer than your first one.
with a real shot.
Yeah, you scored a goal before.
Yes.
But you scored again.
Yes.
And it was on like a snapshot.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
I don't even remember if my first goal was forehand or backhand. That's how chaotic it was. I was just like, like that. This one was, I got the puck along the half wall, and I had a path, and I was going to pass it.
Yeah.
But then they're like, you have a path, shoot. And so I did. And I didn't mean to put it top corner, but it went top corner.
You know,
Yeah.
and it felt
that
really
almost
good.
reminds me of watching Carl Söderberg,
Yes.
which is the real reason you came to this show today. For Carl Söderberg trade breakdowns. Carl Söderberg.
Insane. And Kevin Connaughton.
Whoa, in the 3rd round pick guy.
Kevin Connaughton, what you expected, I
That
bet.
sure isn't.
No.
Sure isn't. Colorado's got $30 million to spend this summer. On what? I don't really know, man, because there's no defenseman that you really want to buy with $30 million.
Well, and they're trying to offload Tyson Berry, like, as we speak.
What do they? Listen,
I don't
I can't really question the Avalanche anymore. I really questioned them for a couple years there, but they've turned it around and made it amazing. However, I am a little concerned about when someone does something super bad and then they start to improve and you're like, whoa, and then they overcorrect?
Yes, and now they're super good all of a sudden.
Yeah, but then then they go past good and they go back into bad. Like, you're not sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you swing too far to the right or too far to the left, you're kind of wrong.
We first impressions are important, and Joe Sakic proved that, because I think a lot of people have been underestimating him for too long. But no, after that one truly, genuinely terrible season, the Colorado Avalanche are back, very extraordinarily back, and they went from being this team where, what if someone offer sheets Mikko Rantanen to I am the one who knocks, and they might be able to retain him and offer sheet somebody.
Yeah.
But by the way, if no one gets offer sheeted, we need to hold a funeral for offer sheets.
We do. Can we
Like,
physically hold one?
genuinely, like, yes.
You could have held a funeral for it last year,
Yeah.
the year before,
No, but this is
the
the
year
year.
before.
This is the
But
year.
and then next year is going to be, who's going to get offer sheeted? And then no
Jesse.
one's going to get offer sheeted. And we're going to sit here and say, we should hold a funeral for offer sheets.
Is that what I said? Excuse
We
me,
should hold
sir.
a funeral for offer sheets this year.
Put on my cummerbund and
I don't
talk
know.
about offer sheets.
This was like really before social media kind of took off, like before Twitter. But I think 50 Cent once held a funeral service
For
Fat,
offer sheets?
No, for Fat Joe's career.
No, that's funny.
Because he like dissed him, and like they had like a battle or something, and they both released mixtapes about each other, and 50 Cent won in his own mind. So he had a funeral and like said goodbye to Fat Joe's career.
That's how memorable that battle was. I
Right?
don't even remember it.
Yeah, well, exactly. And then I think he went head to head with Kanye and released like AO technology, and Kanye's like, okay, I'll put out Stronger now.
Yeah.
And Fat Joe's had a hit more recently than 50 Cent.
Has he? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what was it called? It was
Up something.
It was nominated for a Grammy.
Yeah.
Up something. Cummerbund. It was
All
called
the way
Cummerbund.
up?
Yeah.
That's
no.
it.
Yeah.
Isn't
yeah.
that
That's
it? Yeah. That's the one. That's the
Yeah.
one.
Oh,
my God.
I
It
want to
was.
die right now.
yeah.
I
All the
wanna
way
die.
up. Yeah. There we go.
I remember that because I remember being at the Grammys and like Fat Joe's walking home. I'm like, oh my God, my
Yeah.
14-year-old
Those
self
with,
is dying inside.
That's not
With
Fat
Remy
Joe
Ma.
anymore.
With Remy Ma and French Montana.
Yeah.
Yes.
Remy Ma, who was
Like
back
2
for a
years
bit.
ago.
Yeah.
French Montana needs a little more credit than he gets. French Montana is quite good.
A lot like Carl Söderberg.
Carl Söderberg.
Bouncing back from his 14-point season
By the
a few
way,
years ago.
Carl Söderberg's got a year left at 4.75. Now he will only be owed $4 million of that. But this brings me to my, and we won't spend too much time. Don't worry on the Carl Söderberg deal. What are the Coyotes doing?
Boy, really good question.
Like, where are you going? Like, I thought for a while we had a handle on what John Shaker was doing, but Carl Söderberg is not the guy. I don't think that, like, unless he's looking for third line depth in his lineup, I don't get it.
Here's
For a year, the guy's going to be a UFA.
Here's the problem with the way hockey is covered, or at least the way we try to predict the future. We look for gaps. We look for holes. We go, who has cap space? Who is cash strapped? Who has a lot of picks? Who does not have very many? Who has free agents? Who needs defensemen? Who needs forwards? Who needs goalies? Forget all of that. Just throw aside all logic. Did anyone call any of the trades
No.
that have happened over the past week?
No.
We talked about Patrick Marleau moving. I don't know if we once brought up Carolina. JT Miller
To Vancouver?
might have been brought up, not to Vancouver. Subban, yes. Devils, no.
Yeah.
No, not for a second. And Colorado having, Colorado's going to, struggle to hit the cap floor at this point.
Yeah.
Not literally, but yeah. I don't get it.
Adam, speaking of trades, when Calvin DeHaan was traded,
Oh, were you heartbroken?
how sad were you from a level of I'm gonna rip my heart out?
For Gustav Forsling?
It was
on,
that was a
man.
very this show trade.
Yeah.
Because it was Calvin DeHaan getting traded and
Chicago.
also the Blackhawks
Yeah.
getting the better player for no good reason.
Why did they get
No
him?
damn
I don't
good
know.
reason.
I don't know.
That makes me so. It makes me so upset because you know what? Calvin DeHaan's the guy they needed when they brought in Jake Muzzin.
Yep.
If they had signed Calvin, had they been able to sign Calvin DeHaan last summer, they wouldn't have traded that first in Sean Drury. That's the guy they needed. That was the extra guy they needed, and they didn't get it.
If they could have got him.
If they could have got, apparently they were close. They were right there.
And
I
he
think it
was clearly
the
available.
I think it was the fourth year that the Leafs didn't want to go 4 on him, and I think he went 4 in Carolina or something like that. I think if I remember properly. I mean, I don't know, but
That's one of those ones where there's been a couple trades recently where people go, wait, that's all it took? But
Just
the
cap
Leafs, and I know it's a how can we make this about the Leafs? That one is worth making about the Leafs a little bit.
yeah,
Just a little bit.
Well, the Subban one I can understand. The Leafs were in on him. They
wanted.
He's a $9 million player. They wanted them to retain, and Nashville's like, no, we're going to sign Matt Duchene. So we can finally complete the Matt Duchene for Kyle Turris trade full circle.
Yes.
That trade is, yes, exactly. That trade...
The Subban one.
Yeah, it's cheating to look at it this way, but it will end up being Davies, 2 seconds, Santini, and Matt Duchene. Really, if it in the eyes of the Preds, the theme of this offseason, the theme of all of draft weekend was cap space.
Yes.
And how important it is.
And the thing is, Elliot Friedman has said this many times. We've talked about it on the show too, but perhaps not enough. The most valuable thing on your team besides an elite player, like if you have an elite player, if you have an Austin Matthews, you have a Sidney Crosby, you have a Connor McDavid, superstar, more valuable than the second line guy is cap space. It's the ability to keep the door open and go, I'm going to go left here and I'm going to go right here and I'm not going to lock all these doors and just lock myself in.
And it works both ways, too, because if you're a team at the top and you have cap space, then you're adding a piece. And if you're a team at the bottom, then you're taking advantage of the top teams who are strapped for cash.
And, a lot of people were talking about the cost of the Patrick Marleau deal. Are we just going to dive right into that?
No, we're not.
Okay.
We're going to dive into Mitch Marner talk.
Oh, are we?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Great.
Are we going to get back to Subban at any point?
Oh, yeah.
And Brian Burke going on radio and saying Subban outstays his welcome wherever he goes.
Oh,
Yep.
boy.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, here, one more thing.
Interesting that it comes from Brian Burke, who also outstays his welcome wherever he goes.
One extra thing there on the Marleau
kidding,
thing.
Brian, by the way. I'm just joking.
People were talking about the high cost of getting rid of that contract.
Yeah.
No one had a problem when it was Muzzin, and they just cleared more space than Muzzin makes. You know what I mean? So a first-round pick that is hopefully going to be 31st, but realistically somewhere in the 20s for $6.25 million in cap space when you badly need it. Sorry, that's not a high cost. It's just not.
No.
And they put themselves in this position, this, that, and the. Okay, that's fine. And if I had wheels, I'd be a wagon.
This
is the situation they're in.
You already
this is
did your whole Marleau thing.
Yeah, do we need to talk about that right now?
Let's do it again. No, I'm kidding. Yeah.
Well, we didn't talk about Marleau.
No.
No, it happened after the show.
Okay,
It
so I
happened
guess
at the draft.
so I guess we're talking about Marleau then.
Yeah, we got.
I didn't want to.
No,
leave Marleau.
go to Marner. Go to Marner.
You already
I
Go to
believe
did
you
your
you just took
You
us
did
there.
it.
We have to go there now.
Marner. Fine.
Iceberg.
Freaking iceberg. Adam's messaging yesterday, and he's like, "Well, there's not a lot to talk about." I'm like, "The draft."
I was joking.
Oh. Okay. It did not read that way.
Sorry. So
All right, so we're
like,
not
is
going to
Adam on
talk about
drugs?
Patrick Marleau, but we're going to let Steve have 5 minutes on
about
Marleau.
Patrick Marleau, and then we'll get back to Patrick
30
Marleau.
seconds.
So Patrick Marleau, I love that trade for the Leafs.
Oh yeah.
I don't love that it had to happen. But
Yeah, it allows them to retain Mitch Marner and go. Go.
Well,
There you go.
you either have Patrick Marleau or you have Kasperi Kapanen and Andreas Janssen.
Basically.
And ultimately, yeah, it's a price you have to pay. Lou Lamoriello left the Leafs with Patrick Marleau and Nikita Zaitsev. Those were his parting gifts. He did a lot of great things while he was here. You're going to screw up at some point as a general manager. Those would be two of the major ones. Those would be two of the contracts where if I'm an Islanders fan this summer, I go, well, yeah, Panarin and Bobrovsky, that's great. And if we get them, excellent. But if he doesn't get them, that's where I get a little freaked out about Lou Lamoriello's direction. Because it's not the superstars that Lou Lamoriello struggles finding. When he went out and got Freddie Anderson, he was right. He was bang on the money. Go get a goalie. Spend what you got to spend. Do it. Kind of like what he tried to do with Jersey and Corey Schneider. And had Corey Schneider not had that brutal hip injury, he'd still be Corey Schneider.
Yes.
I worry about the mid-range guys. Lou Lamoriello has a track record of overvaluing mid-range guys. You look at a Travis Zajac kind of guy. You look at who are some of the other guys on the Devils? There were some really weird contracts when he was still there, and it's been a few years. But
I was about to say David Clarkson, but no. He made him and then suckers.
Exactly, and then had to unmake him.
Yes.
But I think ultimately obviously Lou Lamoriello is a Stanley Cup winning general manager, but he is still a guy that overvalues guys that are not superstars.
Well, and we spent most of last summer criticizing his signings on the Islanders.
They worked out.
And they worked out year one. Like, that's the problem. Most free agent signings, when we look at them and we say the contract's not very good, it's not about year one.
Because Patrick Marleau was great year one.
Yes. And, okay year two. Stomachable year two. Year three, okay. No, we're done here. We're done here. And that's a light example. I'm talking about the guys who are approaching 30 or about 30, looking to get 7-8 year contracts. Tyler Myers, which I suppose we'll get to later as well.
Yeah. First, you want to do 5 minutes on Tyler Myers?
Absolutely. All right. So Tyler Myers.
What do you guys say to the naysayers who said it's disappointing that the Leafs won't have a first round pick until 2022?
I think
they don't have one this year, and they don't have one next year, and then you got to wait another year.
I think that's not necessarily the case. I think you can pick one up.
2022?
Yeah, because they traded away next year's pick for Marleau.
Yes.
2021.
That's 2021. No, next year is 2020.
They say traded away.
Yes. Sorry.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Wait.
I think you're also in that. You're in that zone now where you've got superstar talent, assuming Marner stays, right?
Yeah.
So not that you don't want to draft that, but that's where a scouting staff is truly great. That's where you need to have a brilliant scouting staff. You look at Detroit; they traded first-round pick after first-round pick and still managed to find superstars. The Pittsburgh Penguins have been able to restock the cupboard, not necessarily find another Malkin Crosby, but they have found guys, Rust, Gensel, whoever else, like you can name a few people with Pittsburgh over the years. Matt Murray's another one that comes to mind. They were able to replace a starting goalie. These are things you've got to contend with if you're going to be a top team. And the Leafs are in the top. I would say the top. I don't know, 10% in the end. Like what are they? What do they finish? 7th, 8th? I don't know.
Higher than that, I think.
Yeah. So if they're the top 5 team in the NHL, which they project to be, chances are you're gonna have to trade some picks. Chances are the salary's gonna hurt you a little bit. Somebody's salary is gonna hurt you somewhere along the line. The question is what, where, and when. And I find it funny because I think we're adjusting to this new reality. We were used to the reality of, okay, let's dump everything.
Can you bring up round one, Jesse?
Let's dump everything and let's pin all our hopes on these new draft picks. That was a fun little era because there was no pressure.
Yes.
It was like, let's just hope these draft picks work out, and by golly, aren't these kids fun to watch?
The games were secondary to the trades.
Yeah.
The games were the stuff that got in the way of the trades.
Now we're looking at, and you have to remember too, if you're not from Toronto or you've never been a Leafs fan or a Raptors fan or a Jays fan, there's about 20 years there where there was nothing happening. So the trades were the only thing to talk about. So in Toronto, we hyper-focus on that stuff because that's been ingrained in us because we really had no hope.
It was a tough go.
It was.
It was a tough go.
Now that we've got some successful teams, it's hard for people to go, oh crap, now we're going to have to give up assets to get rid of some bad assets. Yeah. That's just the way business works. It's the way the NHL and the hard cap work. I think in this particular situation, you look at Jarmo Kekalainen's comments on Patrick Marleau, the Patrick Marleau trade, which was that much money for a first-round pick, you're out of your mind. I'd never do that. Because essentially that's what Carolina is doing. They're buying a first-round pick.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they may have had to let go of Calvin DeHaan because of it. But maybe not. They'll buy out Patrick Marleau,
I
whatever.
think that was part of the plan anyway. So Kekalainen is basically saying, I wouldn't have done what the Hurricanes did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I think he's nuts. But I also don't think his reality is maybe the same.
He also has no picks.
Yeah, I also think...
So we already know his feelings on picks.
And Tom Dundon... saved the $250 million he was going to invest in that football league, and has I guess put some money into the Carolina Hurricanes, where I don't think the Columbus Blue Jackets have much money. I think that they can spend to the cap, but I don't think they can do trades like, hey, let's buy a first-round draft pick,
and let's do the new trend of 90% of your contract is in salary bonuses and stuff like that. Where did the Kings pick in the first round? Like around the 20s, the Kings pick that was the Leafs pick. Because Adam, you said something there that I think was really important. Just because the Leafs don't have a first-round pick doesn't mean they can't get any good players.
Subban was drafted in the second round.
Exactly. And
Duncan Keith was too, I think.
Yep. And you're talking more projects, and they might take a little bit longer, but you get good players.
They picked 22nd.
22nd. You know who was available at 22nd? Nick Robertson. And you know when he was also available was 53rd. And you talk to a lot of people around the draft. Nick Robertson was an extraordinarily good pick at 53. And who's to say the Leafs wouldn't have even tried to pick him at 22? I don't know, or 23, whatever you
22.
said it was.
The last
22.
2 years, by the way, the Leafs
he was
finished.
projected high.
Yeah.
Leafs finished 7th in the standings last year and the year before.
Okay.
Okay.
So there you go.
Well,
There you go.
you know, I just look at it and I go, this is the new reality of the team. Yes, it sucks that you're not going to get a first-round pick, but remember, look, the graph every year, the advanced stats community, and God bless them, they put out the graph of value of picks.
Yeah, first overall, and then
it falls off. And
Yeah.
once you hit about 20 to 40 is about the same.
Yeah. No,
And
it's
then- or 20 to 50.
to 230 or whatever it is. Yeah.
It's minimal. So then you're looking at guys, you're taking swings at guys who have, like a Kasperi Kapanen, granted he was a first-round pick, but late, who have unbelievable speed, but they're missing this part of their game. They have unbelievable hands, but they're missing, maybe they need to work on their skating. And that's what a development system does. You develop the end of their game that's holding them back from the NHL. They may already have, a lot of those guys that were drafted in the, have NHL level skills, but not the complete package to actually be an effective NHL player.
Or they're undersized or something.
Yeah. And that's why, Timothy Liljegren, 17th overall pick. Guy hasn't seen a game.
No.
They're taking their time. Yeah.
But they're taking their time.
Taking their time. So, with that in mind, the Leafs do clear it, and they do a little bit of tidy work, I think, with the Kasperi Kapanen and Andreas Janssen contracts.
Yes.
3 and 4 years. You got Cappy for 3, Yanni for 4.
Big fan of the Janssen deal, actually.
It's a great deal.
The fourth year is big.
It is.
Yeah.
And none of those have been officially signed yet.
No. So that to me is very interesting. So they've agreed to it. I guess in theory they could be offer sheeted or something, but as we've already discussed, that's not going to happen.
They probably
and
don't
also
wanna
they would have
leave.
to agree to it.
They probably don't want to leave.
No, I don't think they do. I don't know exactly what the percentage is, but Hyman makes, I want to say it's 2.7?
He makes 2.25.
Hyman makes 2.25? Who am I thinking of?
Connor Brown?
No, he's 2.1.
No one on the team makes 2.7.
Oh, okay, I'm wrong. So never mind. The percentage for Kapanen and Janssen is higher than Hyman, but it's not astronomically higher. And the fact that you're able to get two guys who hit 20 goals for that amount of money for that term, pretty good, man.
And assuming, most teams would be happy throwing a first-round pick at either of those guys in terms of if you drafted a guy like that in the first round. I'm not talking about in a trade, but if you said, hey, man, I'm going to draft this Andreas Janssen kid in the first round, 25th overall, and he turns out to be a 50 or 60-point guy, which is what we think he'll be, a 50-point guy, 45, 50. You'd be happy with that?
Yeah.
You'd be pretty happy with that.
I mean, to pay that amount of money for a 45, 50-point player, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And once Marner gets locked up, fingers crossed, toesies crossed, now you're looking at an offense, which is, what makes the Leafs special, right? An offense that like the top 6 is locked up. All of it. The whole thing. Hyman, Tavares,
What's your
Marner.
top 6?
Well, let's put it at what it was last year.
Okay.
Hyman, Tavares, Marner, all locked
Marleau.
up. And then, Matthews is locked up, Nylander's locked up, and then who do you put in that?
Cappy or Yanni?
Kapanen, Janssen, probably Janssen at very least to start. So
and then you've got Kadri and Kapanen on the third line.
yeah, so
Sure.
now you're even going outside the top 6 guys that are locked up. So their defense is really concerning. I don't think they're done, but the fact that their top 6 is essentially a lock for at least the next 3 years or whatever, that's pretty awesome.
And that brings us to Mitch Marner, because the reason those contracts haven't been signed, it's been widely reported, is because they have to say, listen, we got to figure out what the Mitch contract is first before. So he may cost them a couple $100,000 each.
Yeah.
And so
Justin Bourne pointed that out. That was very funny.
That's not a fun conversation.
No.
But where do we stand with Mitch Marner? And I'm going to start with this. This is from First Up this morning on TSN 1050.
Okay.
And here we go. This is Darren Dreger. I'm going to be careful not to throw out a specific number, mostly because I'm not sure if it's true. It was thrown at me by an agent and an NHL executive yesterday that you could see an offer sheet, whether it's Marner or someone else, at 5 years in the teens. Is that 13? Is that 14?
What?
If you're an NHL team that has cap space and you believe that Mitch Marner, Braden Point, Rantanen, Tkachuk, Aho, who, by the way, we should also talk about Aho's.
Yes.
That's an interesting.
Extraordinarily interesting.
Or any of those other players are game changers. They are cornerstone pieces for your franchise. Why wouldn't you offer sheet them? Where's the guarantee that 4 first-round picks are going to develop into something that's going to be equal or better to the value that you've already seen in these 3 years in the National Hockey League at the highest level and emerge and develop into a star or a superstar? At least in the player you're offer sheeting, you've got a body of work to work off of.
I am literally going to dig a hole in the ground and bury offer sheets if nothing happens. I'm literally going to dig a hole in the ground.
On one point, in theory, he's correct.
Yeah, sure.
On one point, in theory, he's correct.
And he's been correct for 10, 12 years, however long we've been having this discussion.
Right. What the point is, like, if you are looking to build a franchise, or if you believe you're one piece away and Braden Point or Mitch Marner or Sebastian Aho is your guy to go along, like, say you're the Avalanche. And you're like, I want someone to play with Rantanen. And since we don't pay Nathan McKinnon much, we can take the money we should be paying Nathan McKinnon and we'll pay Mitch Marner. You know what I mean?
We'll pay Mitch Marner twice as much as Nathan McKinnon.
Yeah. Would that even be? Yeah,
I mean, pretty close.
About 13. Yeah. So like I understand what he's saying there. There's no question that in a vacuum that makes a lot of sense. However, I do find it very, very interesting that this stuff continues to come from one person, and that it continues to be an escalating situation. As in, 2 weeks ago, that number was 10.5. And then it was 11. Well, and now we're talking 13, 14.
And allegedly he turned down a $11 million contract times 8.
No,
from
it was
the
10.
Leafs.
It's 10 times 8.
See, I've heard both.
Okay,
I've heard
so Brian Burke said 10 times 8.
Yeah, I think. And then didn't Friedge say something about 11 times 8? Maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, I don't know if he's turned down 11 times 8, man.
I don't think Elliot.
Oh, because I did hear this.
Yeah, I'd take 10 times 8. Like, as a fan, I'd be happy.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. It's still an overpay at that point, though.
But it's the 8.
Yeah.
The 8 makes it good.
So what the interesting part about that is that now, evidently, they've come closer in terms of money. Mm-hmm. But now Mitch Marner says, no, I don't want to do 8 years. I want to do 5.
Which, to me, says then you're not close.
Right.
Then you're not, because the money completely depends on the term.
And 5 years means Austin, Willie, and Mitch are all up in the same year, which is they'd never.
No,
do
I think
that.
Willie be the next year.
Willie be next year?
Because he's a 7-year deal, isn't he?
6.
No, Willie is the same year as Austin.
Oh yeah,
6 and last year counted.
It
as
would be
year
all
1.
3.
Yeah,
that'd be
which makes no sense. No, they're never doing that ever.
No, I'd rather do a 4-year than that.
Yeah,
I mean. What if you have to and you go, that's tomorrow's
no,
problem?
if you have to, then
you
get rid of
do
him.
it. Then you trade him.
Yeah, man.
There's no have to with the Leafs. They have the power here.
And you gotta take advantage of that. So here's what else we know, okay? So I'm gonna continue this a little bit because the 31 Thoughts podcast, if you haven't caught it this week, is quite illuminating.
Really good.
Because guess who? Chris Johnson.
Yes.
Coming on and just dropping bombs. And one of the interesting things I found in this, and I know a lot of people are really pissed off about it, is it seems like the Marner camp, at least in their messaging, is putting out that they're negotiating from a point of we feel disrespected. And that's not just Mitch Marner. Mitch Marner feels disrespected, evidently, and so does Darren Ferris. And I don't know if I've ever seen in the NHL publicly an agent say, I'm disrespected. I feel disrespected. Darren Dreger said this first. I'm going to set this up on TSN 1050. that he was surprised that Dubas and Ferris didn't meet at the draft. Ferris is evidently annoyed.
Who said this?
This is Drager. Ferris is evidently, so you know it's true. Ferris is annoyed Dubas didn't just cave and give Marner 10.5 by 5, as in 5 years at $10.5 million each.
No. Why would they agree? No.
So Darren Ferris feels a little disrespected there. Now you got Mitch Marner. And this, I'm going to read a bit of a thread again.
10.5, no.
Elliot
5,
Friedman.
also no. What? Sorry.
And again, thanks to James James at Account for Hockey for summing this stuff up, because obviously I heard it. I know he said this, but he sums it up perfectly in a few tweets. So Elliot Friedman says he thinks Dubas threatening not to match any offer sheet that came through scared Johnsson and Kapanen to sign the deals. CJ agreed with that.
Good GM. Good job.
CJ put the panic scale on Marner at about 3. Doesn't see an offer sheet coming.
Yep.
He said he is worried about the relationship being strained internally because not between management and player, but between player and players. If Mitch Marner signs for whatever he signs for and somebody has to get moved, or if you're Johnsson and Kapanen, you have to take less because Mitch Marner, there could be some issues there. And don't kid yourself, guys. That is a thing that you have to take into account. Now, if you're looking at this from Mitch Marner's perspective, you should say, why should I care about that? Yes, again, in a vacuum, you're right. He should go and get as much money as he wants. But if he's going to commit to this team long term, and he's got to be in those dressing room with Kapanen for 3 years and Johnsson for 4 years, maybe you're able to put that aside. But that's a lot of money for them. It's more money for them than it is for him.
I think they bury the hatchet quick.
And the one thing is, the tweets do make it sound a little more salacious than it is.
Yeah,
because I know how, like, on this podcast, we've been just cherry-picked quotes and put together.
Yes.
So the tweets just rip these sentences, but it is a larger conversation. Like, Chris is throwing out hypotheticals at some points, but all of this is true. But it is hypotheticals in the larger conversation that they have that's very intelligent.
Yes, of course.
Now, I have not spoken to Elliot Friedman or Chris Johnston about this show, but it did. So you heard it? You heard the audio?
Yeah, and I just want to quickly...
You heard the audio?
Here's where Mitch Marner feels slighted, and I
sure.
just want to drop this in before you get into that.
Sure.
Friedman said that Marner would feel hurt by Dubas saying the not matching comments, the offer sheet comments, but that it was absolutely necessary that Dubas do that. CJ says this is about respect. Rookie bonuses, which he didn't get because Lou Lamoriello wouldn't give that to anybody but Austin Matthews. And not getting ice time early on in his career, which was, I think, his second season. I remember Nick Kyprios going, well, they might have to trade him. He's playing on the fourth line with Matt Martin, which he was.
For fucking 2 weeks.
For 2 weeks, yeah. So I don't know if there's a... Mitch Marner's motivation, I think, comes from having a chip on his shoulder. You know, they get into it there, but, you know, he's small and beat the odds, and that's great. But it seems as though he's negotiating from that point of view rather than from a hard numbers point of view. There seems to be emotion in this, which is where I will hand it over to Steve.
Yes. So it seemed very cryptic, and I have not spoken to my colleagues, Elliot Friedman and Chris Johnston. Very ballsy of me to call them colleagues. But it seemed very cryptic. It seemed, just as you put it, Adam, it's not about numbers. It's about respect. There's a lot of emotion going on here. And what Fried said that I thought was telling without telling was he's got people in his life. He's had terrible contract negotiations in the past, and I mean he's Elliot Friedman, high stakes stuff. Adam, you've had that.
Brutal.
You've had brutal contract negotiations, me to a much, much lesser extent. It's my least favorite thing. I friggin' hate it. But in that process, Adam, have you gotten emotional during your contract talks?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's why I hired an agent.
That's why you hired an agent, but your agent doesn't live with you.
No.
So at home, at night, I'm sure you lament about it to, I don't know, maybe your friends.
Which I did.
Yes. Maybe your wife.
Yes, which I did.
And
therapist.
And what did all those people do?
A lot of times they told me to calm down.
Told you to calm down.
It'll work itself out. You'll be fine. My mom was key for that. I got some stories for the book one day.
Oh, I'm sure you do, Adam. Can't wait to hear them. It was very cryptic, but it seemed pointed. I'm not sure he has that person.
Yeah, because Elliot said in the podcast that it was his wife. that helps them through those things.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not saying Mitch Marner needs to settle down and get a wife. He's like, what? He's like, what, 22, 21, something like that?
And it sounds...
But he has someone to lean on all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm not... Who's there for Mitch?
Well, because his dad, and let's be frank, let's just base it on what we know about Paul Marner and what he said. His dad seems to have the same attitude, which is you are down on Mitch. And here's the thing: if it's about respect, and you are a member of the Marner clan listening to this, you know who does give you respect? People that matter the most, the fans.
Yeah,
the fans adore Mitch Marner.
I think this is not going the way they thought it would. And I think there's hurt feelings.
What do you think?
Like,
what do you mean?
When I said, you know what? Remember when? Oh no, you don't. You weren't here. So I was talking about, you know what? If Marner doesn't sign, trade him. Whatever. I don't even care anymore. Ian Tulloch was sitting right across from me there, and he goes, "Where was this energy for Matthews?" Because Matthews, that contract number is. The best part about it is Austin Matthews is a Leaf for the next half decade. Yeah. The cap hit is very, very high.
Yeah. It won't be in half decade, though. It won't be in 3 years.
I'm like 2 years, I'm sure. But what he said was, where was this energy for Austin Matthews? And I said, you know what? I hadn't snapped yet. And it's been, I think, a calendar year of this shit between different players. And it hasn't even been Marner for very long. But the second Matthews signed that deal, Darren Ferris, like, on your mark, and he was ready for this shit. He was gearing up for it, like he knew his client was going to be last. And all right, Matthews is signed. Here we go. But what I don't think they counted on was public opinion being genuine fatigue.
We are tired.
For the teams. We've said how many times for how many months on the show, Mitch Marner's the most popular Toronto Maple Leaf.
Yeah.
And I mean, and Elliott said it best, and I hadn't heard it put in these terms. He's like, he's got the chance to be the best Toronto-born Toronto Maple Leaf of all time.
And CJ cut him off and said, maybe the best Leaf. Maybe. Ever.
Maybe.
Ever.
Got
You'll
a
never
chance.
know if he leaves.
I like to peruse Leafs Reddit every once in a while.
Oh, God,
Yes.
really?
And one of
They unearthed some shit.
they go crazy. And one
Yes.
of the things that was the most upvoted, I think it was like 2 days ago, was somebody's like, remember that one time we found Paul Marner's burner account
Why
on Twitter?
Why don't we talk about that every show? Like, we really should.
yeah.
So yeah, back
That
in
was a thing last summer, right?
Yeah, it was like in December too, and they blew
my
up
God.
again
Yeah.
after the
So-
Athletics article came out. So it feels like the fan base is also being like, okay, if this doesn't go well and the end is happening, we're all going to turn on you, Mitch, because it seems like the people around you are kind of not in the best. They're not in the best
Right.
light here, and everybody doesn't seem very
It's
happy
not
at the
even
whole
a
situation.
turning for me.
Yeah,
It just will let you go.
It's not a...
Here's the thing. The one thing in Toronto is we've let superstars go. We watched Roger Clemens walk out the door, Vince Carter, Chris Bosch, Doug Gilmour, Matt
That's
Sundin.
true.
We've seen them go. And we haven't had a lot of stars here, and we've seen them all. Roberto Alomar walk away, and walk away with vicious comments about the city too, and its fans being totally shitty, and then we welcome them all back.
Yeah.
But what I want to say, and then I'll let you make your point here, Steve.
Sure.
Is I know what it's like. You'll say Mitch Marner's an adult. He needs to take responsibility for his agent, for his parents, for all that. Yes. But he's 22 years old. And I'm not letting him off the hook by saying this, but I can tell you this. The confidence I had at 22 years old versus the confidence I have now versus the self-assuredness I have now is completely different. And yes, he's going to be a multi-millionaire. His grandkids and great-grandkids will be set for life. But he's still a 22-year-old. And what I would say to him is make damn sure that you know what's at stake here. Because if you want to leave, it's ultimately like if he does leave, it'll be Mitch's choice.
100%.
His agent will look at him and go, "Do you want to sign this?"
At the end of the day, he's an adult and he's making this decision himself.
Yeah. And I'll be bummed.
Is he sure?
I'll be bummed.
But is he gonna? Is he like? If you look at any Tracy McGrady interview recently, Tracy McGrady flat out is like, "I fucked up when I left the Raptors.
Correct.
I really
Correct,
fucked
Tracy.
up." Now Tracy McGrady was a phenomenal basketball player, but he would have been even better had he stayed with Vince and the Raptors. Because that team was going to be
But he
something.
wanted his own team at, I think it was like 23, 24, and he wanted his own team, and they shipped him off to Orlando so he can be his own star.
I think it was that, and I think what a lot of people maybe outside of Canada don't understand about how special the Raptors win is, for the first 20 years of the team, no one wanted to play in Canada.
No. Yeah.
There was this taboo about Canada. No one wanted to play here.
Yeah, and there was one little 2-year window where like, oh, we maybe got something here, and then Tracy McGrady left.
Yeah. And then you get a guy like Steve Nash who's like, oh, I'd play in Canada, but not for the Raptors.
Yeah.
You guys suck.
Yeah,
You know?
and then he signs in LA and sucks.
Yeah.
And the Raptors make the playoffs. I felt that was like, that's a little bit of justice
You're
there.
like, ha.
but in all honesty, I think the problem that Mitch is going to face is it really about the extra $1 million a year? Because that's really what it's going to come down to here. Is it going to be about the extra $1 million?
I really don't even think it's that big of a gap.
And if
I had to bet,
and if that's what's really the most important, do you really think that you can't make that some other way without having to put it in escrow?
it's not even just about that.
But that's what I mean.
Oh,
though.
yeah,
If you
yeah.
take the emotions, the disrespect, I'm mad, my dad's crazy, my agent's negotiating through the press. You take that all out of it.
Yeah. I don't even know what it is.
Is taking the number from 10 to 10.5 really going to hold you up?
No, like,
It's not.
We've said, he shouldn't be the highest paid winger in league, whatever. With Matthews, we talked about the number and what we wanted it to be, and it was higher than what we wanted it to be. But at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? Matthews is a Leaf guaranteed for the next 5 years. And that's pretty dope.
It's the best part about that deal. He's
Pretty
still a
happy
Leaf.
about it. Yeah. Would I like Marner signed to 10? I'd prefer if it was less. If it was 10 times 8, shit, yeah. Marner's a Leaf for the next 8 years.
Took him to
That's-
30.
Oh!
So long time.
Oh, the best. So good. And then
God,
who
even if
knows?
it's
That
7.
sounds like an 8 years from now problem.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, salary cap might be in the 100 millions. Who knows?
the show will be 14 years old.
Yeah.
Going to school.
The
going
show
to high
will be in
school.
high school.
Yeah, we'll be taking it to its first day
Grade
of high
10,
school.
yeah.
And it'll be like, you're not cool anymore, dads.
Behave now. You
The
stop
show
it
is
there.
all of a sudden too cool for us.
Yeah.
We can't do it anymore.
Whatever, dads.
Hey, when you're studying in there, make sure you leave the door open. All right? in there, rascal. I know this one. Yeah, I don't want any grand podcasts just yet.
You got to take the podcast to the movie with another podcast. And you're trying to pretend like they're like cool, like they're holding hands in the back, and you're trying to pretend like it's not the most awkward, hilarious thing ever.
Driving home podcast from a party.
I'm really upset.
I'm disappointed in you, but I'm glad you called. You did the right thing, podcast. Sorry, but where were we going with it? There are so many bigger things in all this. The respect factor for sure. Maybe you want it to be your team.
But for real.
No, wait though.
Get respect by winning.
Maybe you want to be the
you made it
captain.
past the first
maybe
round.
you think if they listen to you more, you'd win. Maybe you think you should be paid more. Maybe this, maybe that, maybe that. The one little sticking point I cannot get past, and it's what makes me feel like the advice this person is getting is poisonous. You're upset. You're still upset about your rookie bonuses?
Yeah.
You're still upset about not making the Leafs
At
as soon
18?
as you were drafted? Oh, I'm sorry you didn't get to play 20 minutes a night next to P.A. Parento. I'm sorry. I'm genuinely sorry for that. Let me tell you, if you get 40, 50, let's say even 60 points or something in your first season, no, he's not getting 60 points. P.A. Parento scored 19 goals. Stop. He's not getting 60 points on the 15-16 Maple Leafs. So let's say optimistically he gets 50. Then the next year he gets 60, and which is what he got. And the next year he got 65 or whatever it was. You think you're signing this deal?
No.
You think you're signing anything close to this deal?
No.
First of all, you would have signed it last year. Second of all, it would have been a lot less.
Yeah.
Where is this coming from? Okay, you already didn't make the NHL at 18. That was 4 years ago now. And the contract where you didn't get the full bonuses, that was 3 years ago. And at the end of the day, at the end of your career, how much money did that cost you? How much money did that cost you?
Probably a few $1 million. Max.
Maybe. Who's to say he would have hit all his bonuses? In 15-16?
Not in 15-16,
Shit,
no.
Are you joking?
No. Okay.
Mitch Marner would have scored 20 goals on the 15-16 Leafs at 18.
No.
You're out of your minds.
P.A. Parenteau might have scored a few.
They were shit.
So follow-up question.
That's one of the worst teams
And they did
ever assembled in this city.
And they did him a favor by keeping him out of that lineup.
Why do you think?
I'm sorry. You won enough trophies to build a house with that year. In London.
Steve.
Yes.
Why do you think, in his mind, making $11 million versus making $9.5 million makes up for those things?
It's
a win.
It's me and my friggin' car, and he's holding out for more than $1.
It's a win.
You know, it's,
You think he
yeah.
looks
He's
at it?
negotiating not to negotiate. He's negotiating to win.
He's looking at not getting his rookie bonuses
Yeah.
the way Subban looked at getting a bridge deal in Montreal. And it's just not the same situation. It's just not. They had this long drawn out thing, and he ended up having to settle for the bridge deal, but he goes, my number is 9. My number is 9. And then he got 9, and all of a sudden the Habs were surprised. It's almost like 19-year-old Mitch Marner goes, give me all my rookie bonuses. And the Leafs go, no. And he goes, okay, I'm signing this, but I'm just letting you know my number's 11. 3 years from now. What? It's not the same situation.
To back you on that, it's also, there seems to be a lack of, like, tell me about what's happened to him that he's so hard done by versus what happened to any of the other players.
Nothing. He got put on the fourth line a couple times for a couple weeks span. His ice time has consistently been amazing. He just had one of the best seasons any Leaf has had over the past 30 years on a line, exclusively on a line,
Built for
and
him.
on a power play unit,
Built for
not
him.
just built for him, with a superstar he recruited. What else do you want? They got John Tavares, and they put him with you. They could have put him with anyone.
And they had a conversation with you and said, hey, listen, if we bring him in,
Yes.
everybody's going to have to make a few sacrifices. They had that conversation, by the way. That was the thing that they had with at least Mitch and Austin. They said, listen, guys, we want to bring in Tavares. Are you in? Yeah, we're in. Okay, everybody's going to have to make a few sacrifices. None were made.
Well,
and this is the,
yes.
and that's Austin as
Yes.
well. And,
Yeah.
and so,
Yes.
Because Austin didn't cave on his
Well,
contract.
and here's what I can't help but wonder. So, okay, Paul Marner, God knows what he's telling him. Darren Ferris, I think it's pretty public knowledge what he's telling him. And now he's got to confide in his teammates. So he goes to Austin Matthews, let's say. Let's say Austin Matthews is his best friend on the team and he confides in him. There's only two conversations I can really envision. Austin, who got his money, saying, yeah, Mitch, go get your money. Who cares? Yeah, go
Which
get it.
is what you would say.
Which, fine, yeah, of course, as a good friend. Or it's Matthews going, yeah, man, like, try to make a sacrifice for the team. Do it for the good of the team. And Mitch telling him to go F himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Because
says, bullshit, you didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I just want to know who Party 4 is. Like, I want to know if there's anyone else.
Can I also want to say something about the way, and I've been very critical of Darren Ferris, and I think rightfully so. I've gone at him multiple times because I look at that negotiating style, and A, it's never really worked for him personally. It's never worked for Darren Ferris. B, it's such a destructive way to toy with somebody's reputation. You look at
And
the
your
way.
clients.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Not Darren's reputation, Mitch's.
If you know, okay, you have the next pick, and you're not sure who to pick. It's between two guys. One of them's represented by Darren
The
Ferris.
not Darren Ferris
Fuck
guy.
that. I am not picking that kid. I'm not. If we're talking about special talents at 4th overall, like Mitch Marner, I suppose that's a little bit different.
If this is like a third round thing and you got two guys on the board.
Oh, Jesus Lord, no.
Yeah.
Do I need that headache? God, no.
No.
God, no. If
No,
I'm an NHL executive,
I don't need
that's
to
what
fight-
happened to Jack Johnson.
Was he a Darren Ferris
That's
guy?
it. No, it wasn't. He wasn't Darren Ferris, but I want to say because he was like a 3rd overall pick, and I can't remember who. I think it might have actually been Jim Rutherford was in charge of the Hurricanes at the time, and he had a falling out with a certain agent. I can't remember who it was, and he just went, you know what, fuck this, and he just traded all the players he had who were signed with that agent.
Wow.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, a few years ago, woe was those guys getting traded out of Carolina. I suppose it's different.
Was it Pat Brisson?
Was it?
I don't know.
Jesus, maybe.
There's a name. There's a pretty big name.
Here's
so
the thing.
A bit different.
With Darren Ferris, though, I find this, like, Darren Ferris is taking Mitch Marner's sparkling reputation and dragging it through the mud with the fans. The fans, you have to understand.
He's like a Care Bear in this city.
You have to understand that Mitch Marner has if you're not from this city, is a sparkling reputation here, and it is deserved.
Yes.
And he is using, Darren Ferris is using that political capital up so he can make a few hundred more grand, honestly. I mean, you can't tell me that $80 million isn't enough.
That sentence is absurd in and of itself.
Right. Right.
For us peons,
and
maybe
for
any human on Earth.
I
It should
just
be.
don't know. We've had this conversation so many times, but I as a pleb, don't understand the difference between $80 and $88 million.
And I don't think it would matter if you invested it properly anyway.
What is he planning on doing with 80?
Once you get into that kind of wealth, you just turn it over to a money manager, and the right one, you can double or triple that money. Seriously. I'm not kidding.
You have too much money not to make money.
Yes, exactly. That $8 million is going to be like, yeah, don't worry, we'll figure that out. and you know what? We'll do a Red Bull sponsorship once a year for 8 years, and we'll be fine.
What I think.
But hold on, though. Hang one sec. When a negotiation occurs, all it is it's an argument that's legal. As in, it's the same argument you have with your partner, except that it's legal. And when you argue with your partner, the goal is not to argue to win. The goal is to argue to resolve the issue in front of you and to not be disrespectful, because you don't want to have to pay for it later going, you really hurt me. It's, did we really discuss this issue, or did we attack each other personally? And what's happening here is they are attacking the way the Leafs do business, which isn't a personal attack. And I understand from an outside perspective, well, okay, this is all negotiation tactics. But I don't believe that these negotiation tactics are going to win. Darren Ferris has, in the past, and I want to read this tweet to you. Kevin Papetti. K. Papetti on Twitter. Good follow. He said, here's Darren Dreger on the 5th of September in 2017. Still a sizable gap in contract talks between Flames and Sam Bennett. Possibility Bennett heads overseas until a deal in Calgary is done.
Narrator, he did not.
Next tweet. Josh Anderson's agent, by the way, this is from the 21st of September 2017. Josh Anderson's agent, Darren Ferris, to me via email. We're heading there to Switzerland next week in the absence of a contract. Columbus Blue Jackets.
He did not.
Bob McKenzie, 18th of September 2017. Only 2 RFAs not signed this season and not with their respective camps. Andreas Athanasiou in Detroit and Josh Anderson in Columbus. And to finish that off, there was one more thing. Hold on. Bennett.
I think you skipped the first one.
Did I? Well, the first one is sizable gap with Bennett. Second one is Andreas Athanasiou. This is the other one from the 5th of September in 2017. Andreas Athanasiou is in ongoing discussions with KHL teams. Unless something shifts in Detroit, indications are he'll jump to the KHL.
He did not.
He did not. This is a guy who has a playbook. And I keep saying this. This is the Darren Ferris playbook. But if you're
the
Mitch
difference
Marner,
this time is it's ridiculous.
It's a real superstar.
It's ridiculous to say Marner would go to the KHL, so he doesn't know what to do with himself.
And Mitch, man, you don't need to do this. This doesn't need to be this hard.
It doesn't even sound like... Does it sound to you like there's a giant gap?
No. Listen, if they came together and they agreed on 6 or 7 years at $10.5 million, is anybody upset?
10.5?
I don't like 10.5.
I don't like it.
I don't like it.
10.
I think he's 9.5, if we're being realistic.
Yeah, because Kucherov blew him out of the freaking water, and he's making 9.5.
Right.
And
10.5 is my drop-dead number.
Yeah.
That is...
At that point, I'll take the 4 first-round picks, please.
Ugh.
And the cap space.
Yeah.
Because a lot of teams, and this was brought up today, because the reason that no offer sheets have ever happened is because everybody's afraid of the redemption. Because the team that loses and still gets the picks is going to come back with cap space and be pissed. And what did we say at the beginning of the episode? Cap space is king. It matters. It's the second most important thing behind elite talent. And if the Leafs, and they said, the league is afraid, and this was something that was tweeted today, the league is afraid of the Leafs with cap space and 4 first-round picks. Then they're more afraid of them with that than they are with Mitch Marner.
Go for it.
Yeah, because that's absurd.
It's absurd.
That's
crazy.
so much leverage in every negotiation.
I don't know. This
Just-
to me,
just-
don't Tracy McGrady yourself, Mitch. That's all I'm saying. You got the chance. The statue is being cast right now for you out front. Get the cup, win it here, then you can go somewhere else if you feel like it, but I don't think you do. If you win the cup elsewhere, I guarantee you it's not going to feel like you're going to think in your head, what if I'd won this in Toronto? If you're Mitch Marner, you absolutely think that.
I wrote that in the open letter, and I'm just at a point where I'm like, listen, what do you want, dude?
Yeah.
Listen, what do you want? Like, okay, it's like if you've ever run a business where you had to, hire employees or whatever, you've probably had employees quit on you. Mm-hmm. And what'd you do? You hired a new one. Mm-hmm. Like, listen, I want Marner to work for my company. If he doesn't, world keeps going. You gotta hire a new one.
Company. Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
fuck.
Yeah.
I watch hockey for fun. Like, my world doesn't begin and end with Mitch Marner. Mm-hmm. I would really like him to play for my hockey team for a long time.
I've enjoyed watching him.
I'm just
I'm waiting on getting. I've got a Nylander signed and a Matthews signed jersey. I'm holding off on the Marner signed until he signs.
Where did you get the Nylander one from?
It was a present.
I know when you got the Matthews one. But,
it was also a present. It
Matt
was a
Nylander?
birthday present. It was very nice.
All right.
But I'm going to relay a story, and then we can wrap this up. And this is a story that's since been printed, so I can actually relay it. But before it was printed, it was told to me by one Curtis Joseph. So I was remember the...
Some people call him Cujo.
Cujo.
That's my stat of the day.
Like
remember
the movie.
Remember the Say Hi to Phil moment?
Sao Phil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that same party, which was Ty Domi's book launch, I happened to be talking to John Shannon and Curtis Joseph and Christine Simpson as well. We were just hanging out talking. And I was talking to Curtis Joseph about his career, and I felt bad asking him because I'm like, every asshole fan must ask this stuff. And I don't know how we got onto the subject, but we were talking about free agents and we were talking about playing in Toronto. And I said, is it really as great as they say? And he said, yes, absolutely. And I said, what is it? When did you start to believe that? Like, when did you realize that? And he said, when I was pulling up my pad, and I think he knew it beforehand, but essentially the idea was, he said, when I was putting on red socks in Detroit, and the other goalie at camp, who was not Dominic Hasek, because I think he came along the next year, one of the other goalies, or a rookie.
I'd love to know who it was who screwed up Curtis Joseph's head permanently.
I would love to say that. I would love to know that. So the goalie, or is it, some rookie looks at him and goes, you don't look right in these colors. You don't.
You know why? That goalie was probably from Ontario.
Yeah,
like
Rob.
half of the fucking league.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was
Win a cup here.
It was a.
It means the most.
A player said, "You don't look right in those colors." Imagine what that does to your head if you're a professional athlete who just had a heartbreaking leave from the
and you're a goalie.
And you're a goalie.
It's a little bit different when you're a goalie.
And when Cujo went to Detroit, never the same.
Nope.
And so I look at this and I go, Mitch, when you put on socks for another team, and this is why I don't think it's going to happen, when you put on socks for another team, is it really going to feel the same?
Doug Gilmour was a Leaf for 45 minutes.
Look
at how
5
he's
seasons.
treated in this city.
Yeah, God is a God. Yep.
I don't know.
Now, I want to ask you. I want to put a line in the sand here, gentlemen. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Jesse, we're going to start with you.
Yeah.
What is the final story? How does this story end with Mitch Marner? What's your prediction?
If I'm Kyle Dubas, my line in the sand is double digits. That's all I want.
10.00.
You're coming in under double digits.
Oh.
That's it.
999 or something like that?
Doesn't matter if you want to be 9.8, you want to be 9.7, whatever it is. It's double digits. And it's not 5 years because that can't happen.
Well, what if what you got to do is it's 9.95, let's say.
Sure.
5 years.
No. You trade him.
Do you do 6 years?
Yes.
Okay, but not 5.
Not 5.
Can't line
You
up
can't-
on the
you
other
You
can't-
do 6.
You do 6. Oh, yeah.
So you
if
would
he
do
wants
6.
if he wants to do 4, you think about it, you probably just sign that. You can't do 5. That's it. So I think it's going to come in somewhere under double digits and anywhere from 6 or 4.
My absolute
And
highest,
I think he does it
My absolute highest number.
because he's not dumb.
Well, there's that.
I believe that.
My absolute highest number is 10.5. It has to be higher than 5 years. Minimum 6.
Okay.
Minimum 6. And I'm not happy.
Would you
okay,
take a
now-
5-year deal?
At
Would
that
you
number?
screw yourself for
At that
5 years
number?
from now? Yeah.
When does it get signed?
I don't want it. I'd
That's
almost
dicey.
rather sign him to 4 or 6 than
Yep.
5, just because of the situation.
Actually,
you put
I'd rather
yourself
sign
in.
him to 4, so then you have to do his deal first
Right.
next time. So he's not waiting in the wings
Yeah,
again.
because I know it's going to take a year.
Yeah. So then here's my next question, guys. When in wrapping up your predictions
Yeah,
here, and
yeah,
I'll give
yeah.
you mine in a second.
Okay.
When does this get signed? If it gets signed. So you think he signs? Do
Yeah.
you think he signs? Does everybody think he signs with the Leafs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So you think he signs? You want it to come in under 9? What do you think it will? What
Under
do you think
10.
will happen? Sorry, under 10.
I think it comes in under 10. It's July 2nd.
Okay.
I think.
When no offer sheets come.
Yeah, July 2nd, July 3rd, in and around there. And I think it comes in under 10.
Steven,
6 years.
6 years.
What day is today?
Today is the 25th, so we'll know in 10 days if Jesse was correct.
June 28th.
Why do you say June 28th? Because he's going to meet with the 3 or 4 teams or whatever, right?
This isn't going to interfere with free agency. This is going to get done.
Yeah, you're probably right about that.
This is because I feel like so little of this has to do with business, and it has to do with emotion. At some point, it's going to drop, it's going to crack, and it gets done.
Can I change my answer to 11 a.m. on June 30th?
Sure.
All right.
You want to get super specific.
There you go.
I like predictions.
There you
Yeah,
go.
it's fun because it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter if you're wrong.
And people are like, you're wrong. It's like, it doesn't matter. Who cares?
Could have been right.
Here's what I will. So what do you say? You say
I say June 28th. We have a live show July 4th.
Mm-hmm.
It will happen before then.
Okay. You're not going to like me. If you'd asked me yesterday,
Fuck off. Don't
if you
you dare.
if you had
Don't
asked
you
me,
dare. I know what you're about to do.
if you'd asked me yesterday, I'd have said July 5th. Because
that's fun.
July 5th is like a Saturday, right? And it's like after the week, the crazy week or whatever.
Watch this.
But I
Watch this.
feel it in
Watch
my
what he does.
bones.
Watch what he
We
does.
will be talking about this until December 1st.
No!
Mitch
No,
Marner
no,
will not
no,
be.
we won't.
Mitch
Then you
Marner will
fi-
not be in camp.
Bet
Then
the
do you-
farm we don't.
Do you fire
Bet the-
Kyle Dubas? Because that's ridiculous. If that's 2 years in a row with your star
Yes.
players going to December 1st.
Well, then he gets traded.
Yeah.
No, but then Kyle Dubas is fine.
He's not.
Yes.
Mitch Marner
Jesse's
is
right.
not signing in the next 2 weeks, guys. It's not going to happen. It's going to be. This is going to be an all. I say December 1st.
So are you firing the GM?
No, I'm not going to fire the GM over that.
You don't file
no.
Kyle Dubas
No,
over
'cause
2
Darren,
years in a row?
Darren Ferris is acting like a clown. I don't know what Darren's
I just
like
realized what's about
personally,
to happen.
but this is a clown show.
I just realized what's about to happen.
It's going Nylander, baby.
So after
get
Canada
ready,
Day,
strap in.
After Canada Day, I'm going to fill in on in a couple different time slots on Sportsnet 590 The Fan for 2 weeks. Last year, we did the Kawhi trade show.
Mitch trade?
I'm getting the Mitch trade show.
I
Son
hope
of a
you get-
gun.
Now,
Son of a gun.
if you do,
I
get
can't believe it.
If you do get, I don't think they trade him before free agency.
No.
because
I don't know. I don't know that. I don't know what I know anymore.
I think that
I
they
really
wait
don't.
because then here's the thing: the second he doesn't get an offer sheet, all the power's in their court.
Yeah.
Like,
And then
all-
you trade him to the team who didn't get the free agent they wanted.
Yeah. And you've got a ton of teams with a ton of cap space.
Yeah. 'Cause
and then Darren and him will get the money they want because now
Yeah.
you've traded for Mitch Marner. Now you got to sign me to whatever I want, right?
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off.
No.
I think he ends up. I'd love to see the Islanders come in on this. I'd love to see them do it because I
watch the Leafs dunk their head in the toilet.
That's what I
You don't
mean.
have any money. You don't have a building. Oh.
I'd love to see.
I
the
don't
Islanders.
mean on the ice necessarily. I just mean financial.
I-
Or like someone was talking about Carolina. Are you out of your mind?
Well, if you heard what they offered Sebastian Aho, it's not going to happen. Florida is going to get Bobrovsky and Pinar, and they're Instagramming about it today.
I don't know.
Oh, I do. Come on.
I don't think so.
Who's going to get them over Florida?
Colorado.
You're out of your mind. Yeah, they want to go to an icy climate again, and I love Colorado. The Nuggets are great. The Rockies never are, but the Avalanche are back to being a good
Hey,
team.
they were good a couple years ago when they were a
Hey,
wild card team.
the food tastes
Had a mini
better.
run.
They had a run.
Yeah.
The food definitely tastes better.
Denver's awesome. But are you telling me that those guys who have been linked to Florida forever are not going to Florida? Forget it. I
Side
think-
note about the Colorado Rockies. Sorry to interrupt.
No.
They had one of the worst hashtags in the history of postseason.
Oh, no.
When they made the playoffs, they were Rocktober.
Oh, yeah. And you were tweeting about you hated it.
I tweeted about I went on like a tweet thread about how I hate Rocktober.
Jesse never rants, but he hated Rocktober.
Rocktober.
Social media things.
Yeah.
You know how there's too many sports teams in North America? One of the ones that I routinely forget exists is the Colorado Rockies.
Yeah, I know. Well, I think that they just are never a top player for whatever reason. I think it's that park, right? Aren't they in like thinner air, so there's more home runs hit there? So
it's a weird place.
Yeah, it's a weird place.
I don't think
it's a weird place
believe
for
that.
No, dude, they talk about it as if it's gospel.
Yeah, the balls
They
travel.
also talk about the turf.
Balls travel further in on Coors Field.
Yeah.
Because the air's thinner.
There you
when
go.
More
go
like
higher
out of
up.
Coors Field. Because
You don't believe this?
goes
This
out
is
of
an
there.
actual
I'm
stat.
sure it's science.
I do
science.
believe it. I do believe it.
I'm sure
it's
more is
one of
made
those,
of it than needs to be.
They
but-
have a
Yeah.
line in the top of the stadium. There's like purple seats, and those are seats that are exactly a mile high from Ocean because they're a mile high.
Wow.
You go sit in that row of seats,
That's
and you can sit
amazing.
a
I
mile.
love that shit. I love baseball.
Yeah.
Is ridiculous. Oh, Cincinnati has more gnats per capita than any other baseball park, and the balls don't go as far in Cincinnati because the ball gets slowed down by all the gnats. All the gnats.
Baseball does really boil it down to every possible
Yeah.
fact. People always ask, Mike Francesca's old partner, Mad Dog. He has to do a show on the MLB Network in the off season too, every day about the MLB, and you're like, how do you find something to talk about? And then you realize like baseball is so in depth, you can talk about anything all the
Other
time.
fun stadium
Nothing.
facts. The Texas Rangers out in Arlington, they have trouble playing day games during the summer because it's so hot in Texas.
That's right.
So the
Wow.
majority of their games throughout the summer are night games because it's cooler.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's so unbelievable.
And you know when the ball's
it's like
tan.
having to walk a hairy dog. Like if you don't have a short hair dog,
Yeah.
you
It's
can't
hot.
take
You
him
Can't
out
bring him
during
out in the
day.
summer. No.
Yeah, or it's got to be a real short one.
So-
you got to bring water with you. But
For a long time,
Yeah.
there were no lights in Wrigley Field, so all their games were day games.
That's
in
right.
Chicago.
That's right. That is true.
lights.
Yeah.
Baseball sucks. Baseball's hilarious.
Name
Oh,
another
I love
sport
it.
where every playing surface is different.
Yeah.
Baseball.
Imagine you go to every NHL city and the rink is a different
Yeah,
size.
well, this is 203 feet, not rather than 200. We don't know why. We just made it that way. Like, it's so weird.
architecture.
Yeah.
You know, it's a part of the game.
Hey fans, we're here in Brooklyn tonight as the Islanders take on the Hurricanes. Hope you brought your flashlights because there are no lights in this building. Every player gets a concussion.
Yep. Anyway, back to the original thing.
Where were we?
Really hope Mitch Marner stays, but I think this is going to December.
He gets slowed down. No, the Brendan Shanahan has to step in long before that. This does not go to camp. This does not go to camp.
Brendan Shanahan.
Oh yeah.
And
Why do you think that changes things?
No, he's got it. Like if Dubas lets it go on that long, dude, this cannot. I'm sick of it. I'd rather trade him. I'd rather get a shittier package.
Yeah, I think.
Honest to God, I want to know who the team is in September.
Yeah, but that doesn't. I think Dubas will make the decision ahead of Brendan
I
having
agree.
to step in.
You know what I was telling people at the draft? Kyle Dubas is about to have a grown ass man summer. He's gonna. There's gonna be some shit, and I don't think everyone's gonna be happy about it.
when Marner
It
does
might
get-
have to be one of those off seasons that isn't good until they hit the ice.
Yeah.
So, Adam, you think it's going to go to December,
Yep.
and it's going to be as a result of
if
Darren
Marner,
Ferris.
if Marner has to get traded, like he is, I gotta tell you, man, he's gonna regret that. He's gonna regret the hell out of that. This isn't worth it. But yeah, I think December 1st.
I'll say he'll regret it even if he wins. Even if he wins
Like wins the negotiation.
a Stanley Cup.
Oh yeah, yeah, I think so.
So on December 1st, is he traded, or is that when he just signs the deal?
I think he's traded that day, and somebody
Oh.
works out a deal.
Interesting.
They won't let him sit the whole year
Yeah.
without some value back. Well, I mean, they could. But here, the other thing, I mean, it gives them some options and that sort of thing. They don't have that much cap space to really play with. But if I am the Leafs, the thing I do is wait till July 5th and go, okay, who missed out on Panarin and Bobrovsky? Who needs a superstar scorer? Start calling them. And add Paul Fenton to that list just because he's
My
nuts.
summer just turns into spite. I don't even worry about making my team competitive next year. I just try to fuck over other teams in free agency. I don't even worry about it.
And if
I
you're
want
a
to see
Leafs-
the Kyle Dubas
and
revenge tour.
If you're a Leafs fan and you're upset about this, be upset. That's cool. Just know that next year, they'd have a ton of cap space to spend in free agency. Now, let's move on, because I know Nikita Zaitsev's name has been floated out there a few times, and there were some deals or whatever. I am of a weird opinion that you're going to have to trade Jake Muzzin to trade Nikita Zaitsev.
What?
So,
why?
One of the issues that Kyle Dubas is facing is the same issue that Jacob Trouba was in Winnipeg, which is you want a similar player back.
He still doesn't have an extension, does he?
Trouba? No.
Interesting.
So Trouba, you're not going to get a right-handed shot back for Trouba. The point is to stack up your right side, right? That's what you want to do.
Yeah.
I think you trade Jake Muzzin for the right-handed shot defenseman you're looking for, and then you trade Nikita Zaitsev for whatever. And the reason I think you do that is I believe Travis Dermott, whether you think he's ready or not, is ready. And whether Babs really thinks he's ready or not, he's ready.
Yeah. Well,
and
he won't be ready for the beginning of the season, though,
sure, but okay, that's the first few games, whatever. So he misses a month. What? Fine. And he takes another month to really get up to snuff. You got to put Travis Dermott in that situation at some point or another and see what you have. I believe that you cannot go into that next season with Nikita Zaitsev. He's gone. He's got to go. But
No,
I also
think
don't
that's
believe
a tactic.
I think that there are two guys on this team that are potentially really tradable, and I think it's obviously Zaitsev's going to go, but I believe you trade Jake Muzzin to get the right-handed piece you want, or it's Nazem Kadri.
I listened to both of those options for sure. The idea that, I mean, Muzzin's not coming back after this season.
No.
So yeah, I'm open to that.
I like
for
him.
sure.
I like the way he plays.
It's easier to get left-handed D.
Yeah.
It just is. So yeah, if you can trade him, and yes, great value, but if you can get the right-handed guy you want, there's decent left-handed D out there. Yeah, I'm open to that, dude. I like that idea.
Now, I found it really, really funny because the Canucks always do this time of year. They go from absolutely brilliant to clinically insane within a few days. And this time it happened on the same day. They are brilliant at the draft. Brilliant drafting record.
You thought so?
Well, they were good this year, but
their fans were very funny when they made that pick. Podolskin, I can't remember how to say his name, and it's like everyone in the arena forgot they were there. Oh,
yeah! I didn't mind that pick for them because I think he's going to be a very good NHL player, and when you're picking 10th overall, the guy probably won't be ready for 2 years anyway. So he can't be here for 2 years. So what? You pick the highest skill guy, and I trust the Canucks draft record. I think
Also,
it's worth trusting.
If it takes someone a couple years for the Canucks, I think that's sort of their advantage.
Yeah.
Because they're about to have an expensive few years as guys come off their ELCs. Besser needs a new deal, and no one's talking about it.
Yep.
Because he's like the 12th most interesting RFA.
But that aside, how is it that the Canucks had to pay a premium for the Tampa Bay Lightning to dump their salary on them?
I don't know.
How do you pay for 30-point JT Miller? How do you pay a first-rounder plus? How does that work? A guy who makes $5 million and yes, probably underutilized in Tampa. What are you looking? At what point does that make sense? And it leads you to believe that the Canucks are actually good enough that you think that you're probably going to be in the playoffs.
This was the thing, and this is what people kept asking me at the draft. Do the Canucks think they're good? And listen,
they got good pieces, man.
For sure, and the really good pieces that are only going to get better. Jakob Markstrom had a very underrated season, very good in the Canucks net. The Pacific Division, I don't think really scares anybody. The Canucks could make the playoffs next year, maybe even in like a top 3 season.
Sure.
They could make the playoffs. I'm just not convinced they make much noise, and I'm also not convinced that happens.
No.
Like, it's not a slam dunk. I suppose you got to do something, and you're trying to improve your team. I just don't know.
The only thing
I don't know if that was the move.
I don't hate it if Miller is your third line center.
I still hate that.
Even if he's your second line center, then it's
He's got to be
Sutter,
at least second.
Miller, and Bo Horvat.
That's
That's a good 3 down the middle.
Sutter's
It's not the greatest.
For like $16 million total. It's
Boy, they got to dump Sutter.
Yeah, they really do.
it's cheap.
He's the 6 of that 16 or 7 of that 16 or something. Isn't he like
well,
a
it's
notch?
cheap because it's not good.
But
The Leafs is expensive, but it's good.
But if you surrounded it with high quality wingers, then maybe you have something there and a defense that could hold its own. And maybe you have something there that's going to make the playoffs, and who knows when you get to the playoffs.
Maybe.
So don't hate in that respect.
But, well, on the note of their defense, they're letting a pretty decent defender just walk by the sounds of it, which is very confusing. I mean, you could potentially trade Muzzin and just be like, all right, here's Hutton.
Yeah. Well, I was also thinking, too, if you wanted to trade Muzzin and get something back for him, you could re-sign Gardner if you really wanted to at that point.
Maybe.
If he leaves.
Maybe.
Here's the other thing with the Miller trade that is so interesting is John Shannon went on Sportsnet 650 and said, they said, like, this is weird. Were there a lot of teams in on Miller? And John Shannon said, no. There were not a lot of teams in on Miller. So they paid a high price for a guy that nobody was really in on. And why would you be?
That's interesting.
This is the thing. Like, people talk about, in Vancouver, the conversation last year when Beagle and Roussel were signed is well, I mean, it's not really a big deal. When Sutter was signed, it's not really a big deal. They won't be good for a while. And it's not like they got to chew up the cap space somewhere. The problem is when Besser, Pettersson, and everybody else needs a big fat deal like what the Leafs are dealing with right now, you're still going to have Jay Beagle, Roussel, this guy. Like, I mean, I think Miller's got a year left or whatever, but it's these dumb, and they're not done. They're going to give Tyler Myers more money than Kevin Hayes got.
Apparently the rumored Myers deal
a year?
is lunacy.
So 6 years, $8 million. Apparently is what I heard.
Yeah.
No, I read. No, I thought they were discussing 8 years.
8 over 8 for a 30-year-old guy who was a third pairing defenseman in Winnipeg last year and still didn't have good results.
Even 7, even 6, I think.
At $8 million.
One of the most chronically overpaid defensemen in the league. Sounds like a really good guy. He's a right-handed shot. He can put up points. Mm-hmm. But did you know that Tyler Myers, 1 year, I've brought this up a bunch of times, but just not for a while. 1 year, Tyler Myers was the highest paid highest paid defenseman in the National Hockey League. Remember?
Is that his first year in Buffalo?
No, it was. Yeah. Remember, Buffalo lost their mind for a few years there, and they had back-to-back years. Mm-hmm. They had the highest paid defenseman in actual cash. In both years, it was a different defenseman. The first one was Tyler Myers. You want to take a stab at who the second one was?
I have no idea.
German. Can you name a German-born NHL defenseman? This is how messed up it was. I believe it was Christian Ehrhoff.
Really? Oh, right.
He was making $12 million in actual cash.
That's right.
Look that up on Cap Friendly. I want to make sure
he had a ridiculous
I'm correct.
deal. That's right.
The Tyler Myers deal will either be, as reported, 4 years at 6 or 7 years at 8.
Oh my God.
Those are the two numbers they're discussing.
4 years at, sorry, what is it?
4 years at 6
years
is a lot
at
less
6,
insane.
4 years at $6 million per season.
I don't even hate that.
Or 7 years at $8 million.
Why are you paying more for more years? At that point, he's 30 years old. Should be paying less for more.
Yeah, we're not talking about a young guy here. We're talking about a guy, the sun will be setting on his abilities at that point.
So we'll see.
What on earth? The 4 times 6 I do hate. Mm-hmm. It's just not a show in and show out. We talk about how it's such a shit deal. Sort of like the Lucic one. I wouldn't give him either of those deals. Jeez, man. What a confusing team. Also, did you hear that apparently Peter Chiarelli may have joined them?
Yes, apparently. Yeah, it was Andrew Walker, I think, that broke that. He said that they've offered him a position, which I find.
He had himself a weekend, Mr. Walker.
We did.
Yeah.
I find it really, really weird that they would bring him in after what happened.
Who?
Chiarelli.
Oh. I was like, what are you talking about?
After what happened in Edmonton.
Dude, they just recycle the same
he's
200, 250
NHL
guys.
executive. He gets a job. That's it. That's how it works.
Wow.
It's nuts. And I do hope they sign Tyler Myers because it will continue to prove my point that Vancouver goes from brilliant to nuts within 2 weeks. Draft to free agency. They're crazy. They're stupid. It's insane. Jim Benning needs to have his phone taken away. And Jim Benning really, he hasn't done a bad job. He's gotten some great pieces in there, but it's all through the draft. If you had Jim Benning Potato versus Jim Benning as in only draft, I bet Jim Benning Potato wins.
He's been a punching bag on and off on this show. It's a little bit more on than off after a nice little streak there, right?
He can't get out of his own way.
He had a bit of a streak. You know who's on a streak? Like a good one? Mark Bergevin. We hammered that guy for like 2 years.
Because he hasn't done anything. What's he done?
I really liked Cole Caulfield.
Okay. The Max Domi trade was obviously smart a year ago.
It worked out when we all said it wouldn't. The return for Max Pacioretty was very good.
Tatar worked out great.
He's put together this really nice roster of prospects, especially on offense.
Well, he also got himself into the mess that he created and then cleaned up.
Yes, but if we're talking about hot streaks, cold streaks, I'd say a bit of a hot streak.
Sure.
And Benning, ice cold, and he started to heat up, and I'd say he was just above room temperature. And, it's getting a little chilly again.
Yeah. Now, have you heard of Carly Zucker and the tweet, the infamous tweet?
Yes.
So Michael Russo from...
I love the Minnesota Wild.
You know what? We should start a feature called This Week in Paul Fenton.
Yes.
And literally every week this year, we just go, here's what Paul Fenton said or did this week.
Have we ever seen someone so instantly become like a unanimously agreed upon bottom 5 GM in the league?
Oh, no. But if I'm the Leafs, I'm calling him.
Every day. Every single day.
Here's what I don't get. First off, I'll read you this, and then we'll get to it. You know, we don't hear many complaints from Minnesota Wild fans. They're always sort of in it.
I think we alienated too many of
Well,
them.
you did. You hated Chuck Fletcher. You didn't hate the Minnesota Wild fans.
That was a fun rant because so many of them were like, all right, okay, I get it now. And you know what? You're not even wrong.
Yeah, because they're very kind.
Like, dude, we get it. No, that's fair.
But I want to look at this because I think it says a lot. So Michael Russo, who does a lot for he's an incredible reporter for the Wild, and he said, Fenton on Jason Zucker. I don't plan to get rid of Jason unless the right thing came to me. I listen to offers and I make offers. It doesn't mean that he's pigeonholed into something. I love Jason as a player. And Carly Zucker retweeted it and said, I totally get it. I'm not planning to get rid of him as a husband, but I'm always open to offers if the right thing comes along. She was being very sarcastic. Jason Zucker was almost traded to the Flames. Then he was almost traded for Phil Kessel. And for some reason, this poor guy who's just signed this contract last year, he just signed it to commit to them, to stay with them.
Remember he scored a hat trick on the Leafs and I was like, who the hell is this
guy?
Yeah.
And apparently the Leafs are interested in him.
Why shouldn't they be?
Why shouldn't they be? Now, I think it becomes very interesting for the Leafs if the other guy they're rumored to want to move on from, Jared Spurgeon, who is also really good.
Yep.
Like that becomes, well, now they need a right shot D. And I'm not saying you flip Spurgeon for Zaitsev. I don't think the Leafs would get that lucky. But I do think Spurgeon goes, and then they're going to be like, well, we need a right shot guy who's got a manageable cap hit, Nikita Zaitsev. Now, the other thing that I love, you guys saw the quote from the draft, right? So Paul Fenton talked about the draft picks, and he said, we got a lot of young guys in the system, and I'm paraphrasing here. We got a lot of young guys in the system, but what was nice was all of these young draft picks that we're drafting coming up to the table, and they were taller than me.
Man, media training, dude. Like, even if you're kidding, I benefit of the doubt think he's kidding.
I don't think he's kidding.
Yeah, me neither. I benefit of the doubt think he's kidding. Man, you got to know how that sounds, and even worse, you got to know how that reads. You got to know how that. How tall is Paul Fenton?
Don't know.
Because if he's like 5'5" and makes that joke, it's funny.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
I don't think you can Google Paul Fenton height.
I will try.
All right.
Also, fun fact.
You can Google anything.
Adam, this is a fun fact for you.
Uh-oh.
Carly Zucker is a radio host.
Is she?
Yeah, she hosts a show called Overtime with Carly Zucker on K-Fan in Minnesota.
Oh, that's sick.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is it still on?
Yes.
Or is it done for the season? Because I got to imagine.
Oh, I don't know.
It's pretty interesting.
I don't know if it's. I don't think it's a hockey-specific show.
Yeah, she might just be talking about Minnesota sports.
Girl, I'd be very interested to hear that. Now,
that's cool.
This falls into, I guess it's the other end of the spectrum, sort of what Elliot Friedman was talking about. You know, the people in your life that sort of calm things down. But remember, the first time he was on the show, back at your old apartment there, he talked about, listen, tell your family members to stay the hell off Twitter and tell them to not read what is said about you and certainly not to relay it to you. So sometimes it works out in the opposite way. They don't calm you down. They sort of add fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
I know the tactic right now is to say, well, we could easily keep him. I think
They're trying to move Jason Zucker.
I think the Zuckers are ready for Jason Zucker to move.
Paul Fenton,
that's
by
what
the
I think's
way,
going on.
411 NHL games, so his height is readily available.
Yes.
Oh, hey.
So
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he's an athlete. So 5'11".
So he's my height.
Yeah, that's a regular ass height. So
Yeah.
I don't
So
know
it's
if
not
he's
that
joking.
funny. No, he's not joking. I think he's going back. He's basing it on what it used to be like when he played.
When did he play?
He played his first year in the NHL was 1984-85 for the Hartford Whalers.
He's pretty
He
standard.
played
Standard size.
played from 84 until 92 when he retired as a player of the San Jose Sharks. Played 60 games the last season. 11
he was on the
goals.
expansion Sharks.
11 goals in that year.
Here's the best part.
Career high 32.
Wow.
He had a 32-goal season.
Jason
Winnipeg
Zucker.
Jets.
Yeah, that's
89,
when
89.
everybody was scoring 30 or 40 goals. Jason Zucker and Jared Spurgeon. That's who the Wild want to move on from. Who do they want to bring in?
Who do they want to bring in?
Who do
Wait, are
they-
you asking me?
Who do they want to bring in?
I
Who
don't
are
know.
the Wild going, we could use a little... I mean, it's Paul Fenton, so what do you think?
My assumption is an obscure player in the Predators organization.
You mean one Wayne Simmons?
Oh my God, is it really?
Several teams, including the
What?
Wild, have shown interest in Simmons, who will be looking to bounce back from a tough 2018-2019.
They are about to be bad.
Well,
oh boy.
And I hope for Wayne's sake that he gets as much money as he can out of them.
for Wayne's sake, he doesn't go to Minnesota.
Yeah, that's true. Wayne, go get your money, though. Like, whoever, just take the money,
Dude,
man.
I need another Stanley Cup and Rouge Hill moment.
Yeah, true.
I want Wayne Simmons to win the cup. Oh boy, it's not going to happen in Minnesota, man.
He can play up and down the lineup. He plays a heavy game that the Wild lack, and he's a protector of teammates.
I mean,
This
yeah.
guy is, this is according to the article, but this guy is so strong. Playing in LA once, he literally caved Eric Nystrom's cheekbone in during a fight.
Eric Nystrom
Of
was
the
that
Wild.
when he was with the Wild. Yes. Listen, Wayne Simmons is a great player. I think maybe a bit past his best, but still valuable to an organization. I hope he goes and makes his money. But
Will the Wild be the oldest team in the league?
I don't know what do we always say? The worst teams in the league are the teams where you go, I don't know what you are. What are the Minnesota Wild, everybody? What are they?
Don't know, man.
I could not tell you. I do not know. Other than a bunch of former Predators, and it sounds like about to be more former Predators.
You might think I'm crazy here, but I think
Yes.
the Leafs and the Preds could have
Leafs and the Preds now.
a potential thing, and then we'll do the press conference.
Interesting.
I think the Predators want a guy like Nazem Kadri.
I think you're right. But they're about to go out and get Matt Duchene.
Yeah.
They are, but I think that they would
Can they get both?
want to move Kyle Turris.
I think you're 100% right because let's say Duchene signs 9.5, which it sounds like is reasonable. Johansson makes at least 8.
He makes 8. He was 8 over 8.
So 8. Oh boy. And Turris makes over 6.
Yeah.
That
So-
is a very expensive top 3 that I don't even think is all that fantastic.
So if you look at Kyle Turris, he had a brutal year last year. So they're
Yeah.
selling low on him.
Yeah.
And if I'm the Leafs, Kyle Turris, while small, plays the system that the Leafs play. He plays the type of hockey they play. I don't hate Kyle Turris at $3 million
Oh, salary retained.
if Nikita Zaitsev's going the other way.
Hey.
And you look at it and you go, they just lost a right-handed shot defenseman. So they have to absorb money, and I don't know why Nashville would necessarily do that. They've got some young prospects or something. I do know that the Leafs were interested in Robbie Fabry as well.
Hey, I'll be interested in Robbie.
So
Fabry
maybe
for sure.
there's something to be worked out there. Wherein, I mean, Turris has got a long time left on that deal. That's the one problem with it.
Yeah,
But
it's not a great
at
deal.
$3 million buyout, like if he plays well, great. And if he doesn't, you buy him out, and then it's $1.5 million on the cap.
Boy, I don't know.
I think there's something there.
I tried to picture it. There could be something there for sure.
Babs would just be like, oh, you got me a small guy.
No, yeah, not another one.
What are we? We're a team of Nick Bertans.
Hey, Nick Bertan, I want you to line up next to right-handed Nick Patan, who we just
Kyle Nick Patan and Kasperi Nick Patan.
Yeah.
And
Trevor Nick Patan, you're scratched tonight.
Trevor Nick Patan.
I don't know. I think there might be something there.
There definitely could be someone there.
As long as you could get Robbie Fabry back.
And we know the Leafs and Preds were speaking, so there could be the framework to an alternate deal, right? There was the Subban deal. That often
is the way deals
seems
start.
to happen, right?
Maybe a Connor Brown you throw in there too?
Could. You know what was very interesting to me? So the salary cap seemed to be the theme of the weekend, and I guess flooding into this week as well. Vegas hasn't done really anything. The Karlsson deal that they signed,
What
the
a
William
great
Karlsson,
deal that is.
That is a very, very, very good deal. But they still need to move
Colin
money
Miller.
out.
Colin Miller.
Colin Miller seems to be a slam dunk to me, if not to the Leafs, then to somebody. So I am a little bit confused by how quiet things seem to be.
He'll be on the
their
Blackhawks,
front.
don't worry.
Okay,
They'll
when
get him for nothing.
Why are they getting everybody all of a sudden?
Because Stan Bowman is he's got to be the
Apparently a
most
genius.
charming man in the world.
Oh my God!
How? Because he's going to
Would
get.
you like an autograph from my dad?
They're saying that Pavelski's going to go to Chicago as well,
Anders Lee.
and Anders Lee. They're saying both of them.
Overnight, you're the best net front presence team in the entire league. Like
For the next 2
holy
years.
shit! Yeah.
I mean, I don't like those contracts beyond a couple of years, but
Term is an issue.
They would be right back in
particularly
it.
with Pavelski, but he's still such a good player.
by the way, I want you to know that in Toronto, Darren Dreger is now trending because of his comments this morning. He has worked his way up over the course of this show from 10th in Toronto to now 4th. Just Dreger.
But why does he keep doing it?
Well, because he obviously has a close relationship with this.
No, I'm kidding. That's why.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean,
why.
yeah. I mean, listen, I take what Darren Dreger says as gospel for what Darren Ferris thinks.
Yes. 100%.
I don't think the one thing about Darren Dreger is like, well, he's not lying. Just doesn't mean that it's going to happen. Fair? Like,
Fair.
Well, Mitch Marner might get $14 million.
Yeah, maybe we should stop ripping on Dreger just because. I mean, he's not necessarily giving us information as much as he's giving us
Something to talk about.
verbatim their thoughts. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he doesn't even take time to take it from the email and go, I'm going to rearrange the sentence a little bit and soften it. Nope. Just here it is.
One of these days, his tweet is going to start with FWD : like he's just going to accidentally screw that up.
Yep.
RE :
Redacted on the emails, and then here's
not
the email.
even that.
Yeah.
He's
No,
gonna
it's just going to give everybody the email.
tweet the email address.
Yeah. Anyway, good times at the ranch. Let's do the press conference.
The Presser. SDP. The Steve Dangle Press Conference.
Stephen Dangle, you were at the NHL Draft this past weekend in Vancouver.
Sure was.
Some 207 rounds, so 7 times 31. Some 210, 11-ish players were drafted.
Yes.
Who was not drafted?
Jakin Smallwood.
Jakin Smallwood.
Oh, come on.
Unfortunately, did not go in the NHL Draft, even though this was his first draft
He'll get a
eligible
PTO.
year.
Yeah, I texted him in the
Hopefully.
morning. I was texting with Jakin.
What did he say?
Texted with him in the morning, and he wasn't optimistic about it. And I'd spoken to some people, and they're like, "Yeah, it's not looking good." And then as soon as the last pick was announced, and it wasn't him, just sort of send him like a motivation going forward. And I mean, he knows his hockey career is not done, and he certainly wouldn't be the first guy to have a long, wonderful NHL career after not getting drafted his first year of eligibility.
Do you know what his next move is? Continue in the...
I do not. I don't know if he's on anyone's invite roster.
Okay.
Might be. I don't know.
Okay. Just curious. Glad to hear you're texting with him.
Yeah. He's a good guy, man. He's a good guy. After what a weird... It's weird the way people come in your life sometimes.
Can I play the two of you audio and then we can go?
The audio?
Yes.
Yeah,
Sure.
Can I play some audio?
Like just
I'll just play it from my laptop and then insert it after. It'll be loud enough. Does that work?
Yeah.
All right. You guys listening?
Listen.
Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
That the fans didn't welcome him in more. Talents like those are so rare, they don't come by fast, and I think it serves us right that now he's gone and look at what we're left with.
Oh, my God. Wow. No, that's him. That's it. It's the inflection. That is him. It's not just the voice, it's the inflection.
Wait, is that Kyrie?
I didn't catch that at all when it happened live. Are you just as blown away?
Hold on, play it again. Play it again.
No.
Play it again.
Oof. Okay, one more time. I'm gonna try and find a different one.
No,
but I'll play
no,
this
no,
one
no,
more
no.
time.
Can we compare that to another Kyrie interview too? By the way,
Are they saying right now that Kyrie Irving called into a sports radio show to talk about Kyrie Irving?
I was just calling in saying that with such a rare talent like Kyrie, it's such a shame
Oh, it keeps doing that there.
that the fans didn't welcome him in more. Talents like those are so rare, they don't come by fast, and I think it serves us right that now he's gone and look at what we're left with.
Oh, my God. Wow. No, that's him.
I have to be
That's it.
honest.
It's the inflection.
They wouldn't say, "Oh my God, that's him," unless they were basically 1,000,000% sure.
Play the flat Earth clip.
I have another
Play
clip.
the clip where he talks about flat Earth.
I have another clip where they compare his voice. Let me just bring it up.
There's no way that happened. Come on now. Come on now. Did he really just take the heat off Kevin Durant that fast? Oh my God.
Having it out for him because I'm like, I don't know.
Fans didn't welcome him.
Listen to this.
more.
Here it is.
Talents like those are so rare, they don't come by fast, and I think it serves us right that now he's gone and look at what we're left with.
Oh, my God.
So this keeps
Wow. No, that's him. That's it. It's the inflection. That is him. It's not just the voice, it's the inflection in the way he talks. I didn't catch that at all when it happened live. Are you just as blown away as I am, Beetle?
No, I'm not. Beetle is, you are, that's not Kyrie Irving.
Oh, yeah, that is.
What's the matter with
No,
you?
that is.
Sounded like him. You want to hear the beginning again? Is this Kyrie?
Hey, so
cadence?
I was just calling in saying that
Yeah, it's the cadence.
It sounds like Kyrie
All right.
trying to disguise
All
it.
right.
They play a.
It's absolutely the
Okay.
delivery. You can't hide that.
You guys are...
Tom put us side by side. You want to hear side by
Here's
side?
side by
Back
side.
and forth.
Yes.
Back and
Hold on.
Yes.
Hold on. Before we do, is it Kyrie on the phone or just
No.
Kyrie speaking?
Nope, Kyrie speaking.
All right.
with such a rare talent like Kyrie,
And then you start figuring out what is important to you off the floor.
it's such a shame that the fans didn't welcome him in more.
It'll be an unbelievable experience for something new.
Talents like
So, for context for everybody listening,
I don't know.
Ooh, that's
Kyrie
close.
Irving is going to be a free agent this summer, and he had a terrible year in Boston.
He's leaving.
And he's leaving. He's going to go to New York. He's going to play for the Nets. Or maybe the Knicks. Who knows? And it sounds like he called into Zolik and Bertrand, which is a local show
That's a catchy name.
on 98.5, the Sports Hub in Boston.
Oh, that's a big station.
Yeah, so he calls into the station. That certainly sounds like Kyrie.
It sure does sound like Kyrie. Whether it is or not, I don't know. But, man, I would love to see that. Oh,
Do you
that's
think it's
not
him?
the first time that's happened, too. There have been other players that do that.
Really?
I know that there's stories out there, and I can't think of any offhand. But I think people have been caught.
Oh, no.
Oh, but
Well,
Kyrie,
Durant with his burners.
yeah, that's Twitter though. Like I think
That's
that
very
there,
different,
there
yeah.
have been players that have done that, and I can't think of who. But anyway, I have to say that is pretty compelling. I mean, and if he is caught doing that, what then?
Yeah, what the hell?
Like, why the hell the Nets want him that bad? Why are they so in such a hurry to give that guy a max deal? He's like, I'm not a leader. I don't like it. So then you don't give him a supermax.
I
Like,
think
what's
it's the sports thing about the guys are just going to get a next contract. Any guy who can play at that high level is just going to get another team's going to be like, oh, he won't be the problem with us, and he's going to go
We
there
can fix it.
exactly,
Yeah.
and then he's going to go there and be the problem.
It's a shame
Happens
that
all the
you
time.
guys are not the geniuses that we are.
yeah.
Yeah, I can
will
fix
do it.
him.
Yes.
We the Wildcats.
Yes.
Are better
We're
than you, the Wildcats.
So much smarter than the Wildcats.
Literally, all sports executives are Spider-Man pointing at himself, like that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But I just want to jump in here. Haley Wickenheiser has officially been brought into the Hockey Hall of Fame. Just want to say congratulations.
What's the class?
I believe I'm looking. Hang on. Well, she's one of 6. Jim Rutherford got in for the builder category. Sergei Zubov is finally in.
Very underrated, yes.
Czech forward, so Canadian forward Guy Carbonneau and Czech forward Vaclav Nidomansky.
Okay.
Don't know who that is.
Not aware of him.
International player. They're doing their best to honor the guys who were in like the Soviet bloc, right?
Yeah. I thought Guy Carbonneau was already in.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Hey, Haley Wickenheiser. It was only a matter of time, right?
Oh, yeah. The top scoring female player of all time.
Noted member of the Leafs organization.
That too.
Yeah.
All right. Are we done? Are we all done? Okay.
Run.
Man, that Kyrie clip is fucking nuts. By the way, 1 million people have sent me Max Kellerman rapping. Have you seen this?
Oh, no.
Can
no.
we watch Matt Keller?
No, my heart.
Can we do that?
I don't think I could.
Okay, do you have the...
Oh, no, I don't think... Okay, while you're pulling that up, before the show was ruined, thanks, everyone who came out to the Regal Beagle in Vancouver. That was a very, very good time. There were like 200 of you. It was fantastic. Shout out to everybody who I met at the draft. Oh, did you see that clip of the Red Wings fans who like put their head in their hand the second that off the board? So I got to interview one of them.
Man, what is going on with that?
So
did they
funny.
draft off of Ken Holland's list?
Maybe he thought he still had like Tampa's pick or something.
Ooh.
It was a very strange
Odd
move.
start, but hey, man, listen, you got to give Stevie Y a little bit of rope here because I think he's earned it.
Yeah, it was a great weekend for the Winged
Jesse,
Wheel podcast.
do you have it?
Is it his like OG rap video from '94?
Yes.
No.
When he used to be a rapper.
Have a look.
No. That's him? No. The video, by the way, is Max Kellerman, the pale white rapper, back in 1994.
Nice, got named twice in. I'm harassing punks like Mike Tyson. And I'll break a novice worse than Pernell Whitaker and Gustav Chavez. Display skills like a museum so you can see him and rappers go playing. So my skin's European. Hit your man with a hook in the head. Don't even jab it. I need you with just my left hand like Jim Mavic. It gets scarier.
What do we think?
I think my day's ruined.
I think if you were to show me a video and say this is Max Kellerman rapping, that is much better than I thought it would have been.
Oh, way better.
Like
Yeah.
he's got some flow.
He's passable.
Sure.
For sure.
Is he better?
Even though
on...
his skin's European, as he says.
It's no reasonable doubt, but it's back in '94. But it's all right.
What city is that filmed in? It almost looks like it's filmed on Bay Street, doesn't it? With like Queen's Park in the background.
It's definitely not Toronto.
It's definitely not.
But he was on a song called Young Man Rumble.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's very threatening in this video, by the way.
Who's he?
Looks like he's got pillow fists.
By Max and Sam.
Max and Sam. Wow.
All right.
Should we announce our live show?
Oh yeah. Hey, we got a live show next week.
Hey, next week. Coming up.
Is that next week?
July the 7th.
Coming in
Not
hot.
July the 7th? No.
July 4th.
July the 4th.
Thursday, July the 4th at
Old Flame in Port Perry, Ontario.
It's a brewery. You're going to have a good time. They have delicious beer. And here's the best part about it. We will set up an Eventbrite, and we will have to sign up, and we will control when that all goes out, so we'll make sure it goes out on time.
Yeah.
And
what was that?
There's only gonna be about 80 slots, guys. Only gonna be about 80 slots.
What was that?
I'm tired. I can't be tired.
Only gonna be about 80 slots, guys.
But Jesse will not be tired for our live show at Old Flame.
That's right.
Live
so we will see you there.
It'll be like our unofficial last show of the season.
Yeah, and we'll try to book some major guests. We'll see.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that'd be cool.
Yeah. We'll see what we can do. All right.
Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Brought to you by Panago Pizza. Order at panago.com and stuff your face with deliciousness.